What's up, everyone? Welcome in to week 7 of the Lowe Down. Last week's record was 16-1, bringing the yearly record to 67-17. The only outright loss was Kentucky. Probably wouldn't have picked Kentucky to win if I'd known their starting quarterback was out. So that's on me. My upset pick of the week was the UCLA Bruins, and that was a hitter. So the upset of the week now moves to 5-2. All right, we're going to jump right in. One big thing to keep an eye on now as we're starting to move through the season is injuries. We're seeing it at the quarterback spots, and when you start playing when you're second string quarterback, that can really hurt your chances of winning. So that's why it's important to always have a number 2 guy ready, and that's kind of hard to do nowadays with the transfer portal. You don't really know who's going to move on. You don't really know about your depth. You can even have a player that's never really played it down before for you. So it's a really tricky deal. This week, we don't know if Bryce Young is going to play, which big thing with Bryce too. I mean, that's his future. That's his throwing arm. I mean, that could, that's a big decision he has to make as far as his pro career and making money there. So I would expect Nick Saban and his staff to be real careful with Bryce, and that's going to be his choice. And the same could be said for, like I said, Will Levis. And if Bryce can't play, that's a big deal. I mean, with Jalen Milroe is a talented kid. But I mean, you saw last week he kind of held on the ball too long and threw an interception too. Had 3 turnovers, so that's a night and day difference having Bryce Young and Jalen Milroe at quarterback there for Alabama. With that being said, let's jump right into the games. Penn State and Michigan, right off the bat, huge game in the Big Ten. Seems to me from what I'm hearing, everybody's pretty much taking Michigan to play. To win this game, but I think Penn State's played the tougher schedule. Sean Clifford there at quarterback, he's experienced vet. Nicholas Singleton, their outstanding freshman running back, he's special. Defensively, Jair Brown is one of the best safeties in the country. Abdul Carter, he's a freshman, and he's an absolute animal at linebacker. And PJ Mustipher is an outstanding defensive tackle, probably doesn't get the accolades he deserves. I talked about it before. Michigan's got a really good offensive line, and Michigan's got a pretty good defensive line. So this is going to be a major showdown in the trenches between these two teams because Penn State's got a good offensive line as well. JJ McCarthy's playing really well at quarterback there for Michigan. Ronnie Bell's a guy that's been a really productive guy at wide receiver. And of course, Blake Corum is one of the nation's leading rushers. I think he has 11 touchdowns on the ground this season, and he's a big time player, really powerful runner. So this is going to be a huge game. I mean, this game has playoff implications because I think both of these teams are really good. And but another guy to keep an eye on for Michigan is Mike Morris, the defensive end. He has 5 sacks. He's a really active pass rusher. Could make a big play in the game. I'm gonna go with Penn State here, upsetting Michigan. I just like their body of work, and Maryland giving Michigan a run, kind of set off a couple of red flags for me. So, but I like Penn State to go in there and get a huge win. I think this is going to be a heck of a ball game. I'm going to say 27-24. Penn State wins the game. Moving on, Auburn at Ole Miss. Ole Miss really put up some big numbers last week against Vanderbilt. Their running attack is one of the best in the country. Auburn's offensively right now, they're just struggling to move the ball. And I mean, I just don't see anything getting better for them on that side of the ball. With that said, I think Auburn might hang around in this game for a little bit, but I just think Ole Miss's tempo on offense and the weapons they have. Jonathan Mingo, he set a school record last week, in receptions and yardage. So I don't know. I just see this may be a close game, kind of like the Auburn Georgia game was, and Ole Miss taking off and winning. And I see Quinshon Judkins and Zach Evans having a big day on the ground, and Jackson Dart also hurting Auburn in the passing game. So I'll go Ole Miss 34, Auburn 14. Moving on, this is one of my upsets of the week. Minnesota is a 6.5-point favorite at Illinois. Tommy DeVito is playing really good at quarterback there for Illinois, and Chase Brown leads the nation in rushing. That's an early game. It's in Champaign. I'm going to pick Illinois to upset Minnesota. And in a low-scoring game, I'll say 24-20. Actually, I'll go 20-16. Illinois upset. Illinois upset. Vanderbilt at Georgia. Look, Vanderbilt's an improving team. And I mentioned last week that they could give Ole Miss some problems just because Ole Miss coming off that big win over Kentucky. And they hung in there pretty well. And what for a late score, they probably would have hung in there. They would have covered the spread. But I think Georgia wins this game handily. Their running attack's really ramping up. I do think this is going to be a tighter game than people think, but I'll say Georgia wins 38-10. Actually, 38-7. The big one in the SEC, Alabama at Tennessee. Don't know yet if Bryce Young is going to play. It's been 15 years since Tennessee last won a game in this supposedly so-called rivalry. The crowd is going to be off the hook. It's still yet to be determined if Cedric Tillman's going to play, but Tennessee has other guys that are stepping up, and they come in averaging 46.8 points per game. And one thing about Tennessee that people might not know about, they're only allowing 89 yards on the ground per game as far as their rush defense goes. And Bama is allowing 84.5 on the ground as far as their run defense goes. So, two teams that play pretty good run D. And Tennessee is a team that they're pretty good at rushing the quarterback. They got 14 sacks. Alabama, we all know Will Anderson there and Dallas Turner. Those guys can get after the quarterback. But I really think Bryce Young playing. I mean, if he can't play, I think Tennessee wins by I think 10 points. I don't think Alabama is going to be able to keep up with them scoring points in that environment with a guy that's only started one game as a college player. I just don't see it happening. And now if Bryce plays, I think that's different because he can throw the rock. I mean, and he can, Tennessee's secondary can be had. And I think it definitely can be had on deep passes. Florida did that. Anthony Richardson hit Tennessee on some big passes late in that game. But I mean, I just don't see Milroe being able to do that. And that, to me, we won't know till tomorrow who the starter is. But I just think that with no Bryce Young, Tennessee snaps the 15-game losing streak. And I'll go Tennessee 38, Alabama 30. Oklahoma State at TCU. This is going to be a great showdown in the Big 12. Spencer Sanders having a heck of a season there for Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are scoring points like they always do. But I like TCU in this game. Max Duggan there at quarterback is a really good player, really good dual threat. TCU's defense is opportunistic. They get turnovers. And Quentin Johnson, their wide receiver, is an absolute animal. And this dude's an NFL player. And I think he's going to give Oklahoma State a lot of problems defensively. So I'll go TCU in a high-scoring game. I'm going to say TCU 42, Oklahoma State 38. Actually, TCU 42, Oklahoma State 36. Big number there. Okay, Clemson at Florida State. This is a little tricky line right here. Clemson minus 4.5. I mean, I do think Clemson's kind of getting on a roll offensively. DJ Uiagalelei, I said it before, Clemson's offensive line is pretty good and giving him time to throw. But I think something weird about this, but I think Clemson goes in and beats Florida State. I mean, it's at night at FSU, but I just think Clemson's the better team. And Brian Breesy there playing defense. I just think Clemson goes in there and gets it done. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, though, because Florida State's really not proved to me a lot on the defensive side of the ball yet. So I'll go Clemson 35, Florida State 24. Mississippi State at Kentucky, another big one in the SEC. Look, if Will Levis doesn't play, it kind of goes back to the Bryce Young deal. I mean, I just think Mississippi State's playing too good right now. Will Rogers leads the country in passing. Their running game's really operating at a high rate of speed right now, and so Mississippi State under Mike Leach is showing a lot of balance. Kentucky did not look good last week, but I mean, what do you expect without their leader? He's probably going to be a top 10, top 15 NFL pick. So I think that was a little deflating for them not having him. And I think that they might have had a little carryover from losing to Ole Miss too. So, but I mean, I just think Mississippi State, I think they're clicking right now, and I like Mississippi State. If Will Levis doesn't play, I like Mississippi State big, like 34-17, something like that. And then the late game, USC at Utah. USC leads the country in sacks, and Tuli Tuipulotu has 7 sacks, which leads the country, and they score at a high clip. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again: if you can score and sack the quarterback on defense and turn people over, that's a recipe for winning. Utah, you know, they were the talk of the Pac-12 before the season and maybe a potential playoff contender. I even had them making the playoff because I didn't know about the Pac-12 and what kind of teams they would have there. But USC to me is the best team in the Pac-12. And well, let me take that back. UCLA is good too under Chip Kelly. That's a good football team, and they're getting better. And they can play defense and get after the quarterback too. So that's going to be a heck of a game when those two meet down the road. But Caleb Williams there at quarterback is doing really good. Travis Dye's having a great year at running back. Jordan Addison, you know, he's a great player. He's going to be a first-round pick. The big thing to me for Utah, though, they're not playing good defense. I mean, people are running all over them. So this is another one. This is another upset. I mean, I think USC goes in there and gets it done. And then people keep talking about USC not being physical, but from what I've watched them play, they've been pretty physical. So I like USC to go in there and pull an upset, and I'll go USC 38, Utah 30. All right, guys. Keep up with my SEC rankings. Me and Philip Jordan are going to start doing the SEC picks each week. That's up on my Facebook page right now. I'm going to put it up on my website here shortly. But good luck to your teams this weekend, and I will talk to y'all until we meet again. And again, keep those upsets. Look at them. I'm hot on those picks right now. Actually, hot on all the picks. So getting a good read on some teams. But I'll talk to you guys soon. Y'all take care, and good luck to your team this week.